the learning takes place before practice.
Right.
By the time the whistle starts for practice, I'm not warming up.
No.
Dog, I'm ready to go.
I'm sweating.
I'm going to perform right now. This is
Right.
my performance time. And if you're not with me, you about to get smoked. That's the deal.
That's the huge difference between those two forms of thought. You know, the people who make it to the top and those that don't.
I was on Deion Sanders Instagram, and he had this video of 5-time Super Bowl champion and Hall of Famer Charles Haley talking to his team down at Jackson State. And number one, Jackson State, an HBCU down in Mississippi, small school, to have, you know, a known commodity NFL certified Hall of Famer coaching them, and the visibility he brings to the school is outstanding. Mm-hmm. So much so that I bought a hat. I didn't go to Jackson State, and I typically make a practice not to wear other HBCU stuff, but I bought the hat, and I'm looking for an opportunity to wear the hat. The only thing is it's blue, and I wear a whole lot of black. Mm-hmm. So I haven't figured that out yet. But Charles Haley was talking to that team. We'll post the link. Part of it that applies across the board that I really took to heart, parenting-wise, was he was telling those guys to practice hard and basically to take their position seriously, operate as though you are trying to earn your spot, and don't let anybody else, don't give anything away. If somebody's going to come and take your spot, make sure they take it.
Right.
And the other part was to do it in practice. Do your job in practice and perform in practice as you need to perform, because the coaches will see that. And when they see you doing what you're supposed to do in practice, they'll put you in the game.
Right.
Practice is the opportunity not only to improve, but also to demonstrate your intensity and your trustworthiness. Mm-hmm. And based on what the coaches see in practice, they will put you in position in the game. And to me, as soon as I saw that, I was in parenting mode. I was thinking I had to wake my son up this morning at 7:30 for an 8 o'clock appointment. And it bothered me to no end because, like, you have 8 o'clock classes coming up in your freshman year. And that worries me. Not only does it worry me, but college, in every sense of the word, is a family investment.
True. And it's unforgiving.
Yeah. It is a meritocracy.
Yeah.
It is a family investment that we're all counting on paying off. A return on investment is back. And that is you become more qualified to perform and to earn more and have a better life to provide for the next level of family. That's the deal. That's why we do without. That's why we sacrifice. That's why we save. That's why we invest. So, and then we spend it on this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's just a moment in time. I don't have a walk away or take away, except for the fact that I wish I could communicate to kids, my kids, to nephews, nieces, to family, friends, that next generation, how important the practice is. The daily stuff that your parents are asking you to do is not just about taking out the trash. It's not just about cleaning up after yourself or doing the dishwasher. It's about who you are and who you need to be, right, and how we feel about the investments that we make in you guys, because we're always sacrificing. We're always deciding, you know, should I spend this money or this time in investing in you, or should I just use it myself? Because wouldn't it be nice to have another nice trinket or a bigger house or another vacation or something like that?
Yeah.
But the thing that gives us confidence, aside from knowing what we're supposed to do, the thing that gives us confidence is what kids demonstrate to us on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I don't know that was ever explained to me by another parent as a parent. And I don't know that I've ever vocalized it before. I don't know if any 18-year-old is ready to hear that. But at some point between 18 and becoming a dad yourself and raising an 18-year-old, that should be inserted into the conversation somewhere.
I think for me, what resonated was probably the same thing for you, but I heard a different message. And it's a message that I know that I've said to the kids over and over again. being in sports, all the way through college and after, for me, the thing was, what you do in practice is what you're going to do in a game. Mm-hmm. And so there would be times, I remember when the kids were young, they'd be like, I don't know why we have homework. I don't want to do this. And for me, because I was always an athlete, it was because your homework is like practice, dude. It's practice every day.
Yeah.
And what you do in practice is what you're going to do in a game. Mm-hmm. So that's how I saw homework for them. And in contrast, it was like, what you do on this homework is how you're going to perform on this test. So that's what I heard in his message. And it's extremely important. It's like, and it has everything to do with this morning when you woke up and you saw that Mike wasn't awake. It's like, what you're doing right now, what you're practicing, is what you're going to do when you get to college. You can't see it, but we can see it. I don't understand why at this late age you are unable to see that what you practice every day is what you're going to do when you're on your own.
Yeah.
And so knowing that in our minds, we're like, we see what practice looks like every day right now. And so I can understand your concern. And unfortunately, being an athlete, there's nothing miraculous that happens in a game.
Right.
If I've been seeing you do the same thing in practice, I know exactly what you're gonna do in a game.
Yeah. And the way my brain works is I go down rabbit holes and I connect dots. We get data, we connect dots, and that fuels conversation. So as we're talking about this, my mind goes to Kobe Bryant. My mind goes to Steph Curry. My mind goes to Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. And not that life is all sports, but sports is an allegory for a lot of the things
Absolutely.
that we do. And when we talk about practice, some people might mistake practice for the time that you're supposed to be learning something. When practice is actually output with refinement. Practice, actually, the learning takes place before practice.
Right.
There's a reason why those guys got to the gym. Let's say practice is at 11. They might have been at the gym at 8:30. They might have been putting up jumpers or running laps or doing drills and getting into a full lather so that by the time the whistle starts for practice, I'm not warming up.
No.
Dog, I'm ready to go.
I'm sweating.
I'm going to perform right now. This is
Right.
my performance time. And if you're not with me, you about to get smoked. That's the deal.
That's the huge difference between those two forms of thought and the people who make it to the top and those that don't.
Right. And there's another piece of information that, I just find it hard to penetrate the teenage brain with messages that matter. And the only response that I can give myself, the only consolation I can give myself is that I've known this the whole time, that it takes practice, it takes patience and repetition.
Yeah.
Like I have to keep saying, I got to be clear on the message. I have to say it until they say it back to me, and that might take years.
It's going to, and I think that's what's one of the hardest parts about being a parent to the teenager. Hands down, in all of the kids' years, the teenage years are the most difficult, and probably the older they get, the harder it is in their teenage years, because you become not just tired, completely exhausted from saying the same things over again. You're exhausted. They don't hear you. It's like talking to a wall. And so there are definitely times when you question yourself, like, why am I still saying the same thing over and over again? You're so sick of saying it. You're sick of hearing yourself say it. And there is this other part of you that is like, don't stop saying it. And I think having the older daughter that has, said the stuff back to you is really the only thing that keeps you still saying it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because okay, she's proof that if I just don't give up, they will eventually listen and hear me and say it back.
I think that if I could replay it, one helpful tip would be to put signs up.
Yes.
Signs talk longer and with more consistency than I ever could.
Yep.
a sign in the hallway outside your door that's not like on your door, but a sign that you have to walk past every day with something simple and concise. It says it every day.
Yep.
Even when you're not looking at it, it's in your psyche. It is embedding itself until one day that thing replays in your head, and it didn't have to come from my mouth.
Yep.
So if I could like send a message to the past, to the former me, and it's completely only about parenting success, it would be make signs.
Yep.
Not and invest in the sign. Don't let it be like a cheap little sticky pad. Like actually print a sign.
Yep.
That
It's funny that you said that.
is key in the message. One of the crystallized messages, or put them in multiple places, the crystallized messages that you want to. And if I think back about this also, I think about my bedroom when I was a kid. The stuff on my wall in my bedroom completely shaped my life. When the first posters went up in my bedroom, I didn't put them up. My parents put them up. And later on, I would go to add more to it, but I never took those initial ones down. And those were influences. There was like, Muhammad Ali was on my wall. It was one of my first posters. There was just so many just key things that whether they knew it or not, my parents had done what I'm talking about right now, putting those images and those posters up, and I saw them and took in a message without them having to say that particular message as much. So that's interesting. Part 2 that we saw today was Jimmy Johnson's Hall of Fame speech. And this is something that, again, I saw it and I immediately went to parenting. He was saying in his Hall of Fame speech about he believed that his teams would win Super Bowls, would be championship level teams. And belief without practice is nothing. It's just dreaming, right? But he said, I believed, and I believed that the people who played for me and worked with me could be their best and what they would be. And I treated them that way, placing that expectation on them, and said people will grow up into what you believe them to be. Not what, I guess you don't basically build them up, don't tear them down. Right? Because there's a vicious part of that too, because football is a very vicious cycle of weeding those who don't perform from those that do. So you're always evaluating and getting rid of the people who aren't growing into who you believe them to be. But he's basically saying, I nurtured people. I believed. I set the expectation. I saw a vision of what they could be. I probably was very vocal about what that is and let people grow into that spot. And I think that's a key kind of takeaway for parenting. It's another way of approaching. It
was, but it was also, you and I walk almost every day. And so it has been your message a couple times in our walks, that very same message. So it was also, I remember when you said, hey, I want you to see this part. I want you to see this speech. And as I'm listening to it, as soon as he said it, I knew exactly what part you wanted me to hear, because it was something that I'm pretty sure you just said today on our walk. So that was pretty interesting. Yeah.
And that's how people work. People are always looking for confirmation of the story they're already telling themselves. And so that for me was probably a confirmation in that case of something that I've already got. But it's cool to see somebody else validate it. Yeah. So that's what I got for today.
Those were great messages. They were.
Yeah. You got anything else?
Nope. That's it.
Cool.
That was good.